Good morning. Welcome to Saturday, June 10th, 2023 on the Winners and Winers Network. This is Just Parlays with Chris King. Of course, I'm your host, Chris King. As you see, nobody else is here, which is typical. Hopefully everybody had a good week, had a profitable week. A lot going on in the world of sports. Last few days, of course, we got the Super Regionals and the College World Series. Congratulations to the University of Oklahoma for winning their third straight softball Women's College World Series title as they won 53 in a row to end the season. Knocked off Florida State to win the title there. We saw the CFL get underway. On Thursday night, we saw BC. We had Vernon Adams Jr. take down the Stampeders of Calgary 25-15. Then last night in a game that was a high-scoring affair and ended up blowing past the total, we saw the Winnipeg Blue Bombers take down the Hamilton Tiger Cats 42-31. It's weird how you look at the total now, and they're showing that the number was 65.5, but for that game, but you look at right up before kickoff, the number was 47. So it looks like DraftKings was adjusting along the way for live betting. But yeah, that number was 47 at kickoff, or 47.5, depending on where you looked. But as the game went on, they adjusted it accordingly. Covers will show you that it closed at 65.5, which was not accurate by any stretch. Today, another CFL game. You've got the Ottawa Redblacks taking on the Montreal Alouettes. Tomorrow, it'll be the Saskatchewan Roughriders taking on the Edmonton Eskimos at Internet Stadium. The Argonauts off this week to open the season. They'll kick off their year next Sunday against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. So good to see the CFL is back. Of course, we've got the NBA Finals going on. The Denver Nuggets taking care of business on the road, beating Miami 108-95 last night in Game 4 of the series. They now lead 3-1. And you have to think Miami probably blew their best chance of getting back in the series yesterday. They led by 1 after the opening quarter. They were within 4 at the half. Got outscored 31-22 in the third, trailed by 10. But they had a chance to make a game of it when Nikola Jokic picked up his 5th foul with over 9 minutes to go. But couldn't make a push. Jokic sat for over 5 minutes. Miami only gained 1 point in that stretch. So he came in and they were still up 9. And that told the tale. You look at what happened in the game, Miami's problem is they don't have the players to keep up with Denver. They couldn't stop Jokic. They couldn't stop Jamal Murray from distributing. Aaron Gordon had, the game of his playoff life last night. Went 11 of 15 from the floor, hit 3 of 4 from 3-point range, finished with 27 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists to lead the way. Jokic had 23 and 12 despite the foul trouble. And Bruce Brown, talking about a guy having a game of their playoff lives, Bruce Brown, 21 points in 30 minutes off the bench, including 11 points in the fourth quarter to keep the Nuggets afloat. Shot 8 of 11 from the field. But you look at Miami and, sure, Jimmy Butler had 25 and Adebayo had 20 points and 11 rebounds. But their starting backcourt, Gabe Vincent and Max Strus, shot a combined 1 for 10 from the floor. They were 0 of 7 from 3. They finished with a grand total of 2 points. Miami was minus 21 with him on the floor in 19 minutes. Strus, they were minus 7. They tried to switch it up. They went to Kyle Lowry. He had 13 off the bench, along with 7 assists in 33 minutes. Duncan Robinson finished with 12-11. But when your backcourt players score, or your starting backcourt scores 2 points, that's not the kind of numbers you want to have if you're trying to win a game, and that's the problem Miami faces. They don't have the size, they don't have the weapons to contain Jokic. Murray can distribute. We saw he's the first player in NBA Finals history to have double-digit assists in his first 4 finals games. And this is coming from a guy that doesn't necessarily pass the ball. He's a score-first point guard. In the regular season, he averaged, 6.2 assists, which was only good for 22nd in the league. But all of a sudden here in the playoffs, he's become a passer. You look he's got 10, 10, 10, and 12 assists in these first 4 games of the finals. So he's dished out 42 dimes in that stretch to go along with 23.3 points a game. And Miami's, give him a lot of credit for getting here. Let's not take away the fact that they were a play-in tournament team. They lost to the Hawks in the first play-in game. They had their backs to the wall in the second play-in game against the Bulls. They trailed with 3 minutes to go before closing out strong to win that game to get here. And, of course, then they took out the Bucks. They took out the Celtics. And all of a sudden, here they are in the NBA Finals. But I think they hit the wall. They ran out of gas. And it's tough to play in Denver, and that's what Miami has to do. Not only do they have to win 3 in a row, they have to win 2 of those in Denver, in the Ball Arena, where the Nuggets have steamrolled people all season long. And you have to think that, may the clock struck midnight on this Cinderella run for the Nuggets. And, for the Heat. Give them credit for getting here, but, I don't think they're going to finish the job. I think Denver's probably going to close it out tomorrow night, and then we'll have the off season to see what happens next. Just looking over what we saw in baseball last night, some wild games. We saw Cleveland outlast Houston 10-9 in 14 innings. Unfortunately, because I had picked Houston to win that game. They led 4-0 after 2. They were up 5-1 after 4.5. Led 6-5 after 8. Gave the tying run on the bottom of the 9th. Then the teams both scored in the 12th, the 13th, and the 14th. But Cleveland scored twice in the 14th inning. Brendan with the game-winning double to plate Freeman to win the game for the Guardians. It looked like Houston was going to take a 3-run lead in the 13th, but a review showed that Jose Altuve's potential 2-run single was actually caught out in left field by Stephen Kwan to end the inning. And the Guardians managed to rally in the bottom of the 14th to win 10-9. We saw the White Sox beat the Marlins in walk-off fashion 2-1. Wasting another good start by Yuri Perez. He's went 5 innings, 1 run, 5 hits, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. Dylan Cease, 6 innings, 1 walk, 4 hits, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts for the White Sox. Liam Hendricks gets the win in relief. He's now 2-0 since coming off the injured list. So it's nice to see him back as well after his offseason of health problems. We saw the Twins beat the Blue Jays 3-2. We saw Anthony Bass get DFA'd by the Blue Jays after his controversial comments about Pride Month and everything like that. It just seemed weird because he was supposed to catch the first pitch, I believe it was last night, and then got cut. Just seemed kind of weird timing. Toronto trying to say it was mainly performance-induced and partially because of the controversy perspective. But if it was only based on performance, you could have dumped him well before that. San Diego beat Colorado 9-6. No surprise, a high-scoring game at Coors Field. Darvish, 5 of the third innings, 4 runs, 5 hits, 4 walks, 6 strikeouts. Didn't matter that he sucked because San Diego was up 6-0 after 2. As Austin Gomber struggles again, 7 runs, 11 hits, 2 walks, and a strikeout, gave up 3 homers in 4 innings. His ERA now sits at 7.57. And when we talk about reclamation projects, how about Gary Sanchez? He struggled with the Yankees before they DFA'd him. He was with the Giants. They dumped him. He was with let's see, where else has he been? He was in the Mets organization, played 3 games for them. They dumped him. And now he's played here in San Diego. He's played 10 games. He's hit .294, and he's got 5 home runs. 7 of his 10 hits have gone for extra bases, 2 doubles, 5 homers, 11 RBIs. He's got an OPS of 1.145 in that small sample size. But, he's been a nice boost for a Padres team that was getting nothing from their catching tandem, because you look at their catchers and, well, let's put it simply, they were bad. Austin Nola was hitting $130 in 108 at bats. Brett Sullivan was hitting $170, 8 for 47, and Luis Campusano was 5 for 21. None of those guys really moving the needle much. So if Sanchez can give him a short pop in the arm, I think they'll take it at this point. Nola caught Tuesday. Briefly, he was 0 for 1 with a walk. But, if Sanchez could give Colorado or San Diego something right now to help, because Manny Machado's only got 6 home runs. Juan Soto hasn't been great. Tatis has been up and down. More power to him. Give credit to the Oakland A's. They've now all of a sudden gotten hot. That's right. The A's picked up their 15th win of the season. Sure, they got 50 losses, but they've won 3 games in a row. 3 games in a row. They beat the Brewers last night 5-2. You have to wonder how Milwaukee feels about that. They had lost 15 in a row on the road before these 3 wins. So they took a 3-0 lead off Adrian Hauser in the top of the first and didn't look back. Esteury Ruiz leads the majors. He's got 30 steals on the year already in 64 games. So big number there, showing that the bigger bases and stuff have paid dividends. He's stolen 30 bags. I'm just trying to see how many times he's been caught. 6. So he got an 83% success rate on the bags. But still, 30 steals in 63 games for him. Pretty good. Kudos to the A's for their first 3-game win streak of the season. See if they keep that going. Here's a hint, highly unlikely. But there's Marlowe. He saw the Pirates bounce back from that disappointing series against the A's as they beat up on the New York Mets 14-7. Wild game at PNC Park. It was 14-2. The Mets scored 5 times in the 7th when the game was well in hand. Cabrian Hayes, 5 hits, scored 3 times, drove in 4. Jack Sawinski, 3 for 4, 4 runs scored, 2 RBIs for the Pirates, who banged out 17 hits. Rich Hill got the win. He's 6-5, 2 runs, 7 hits, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts through 119 pitches. Tyler McGill smacked around. 9 runs, 7 earned, 8 hits, 3 walks, and a strikeout in 3 2/3. Mets also took a blow. Pete Alonso will be out 3 to 4 weeks with that wrist injury. So that takes a big bat out of the middle of that New York lineup. Of course, Alonso had smacked, I believe it's 19 home runs on the season. Oh, I'm sorry, he's up to 22. Even though he was hitting 231. But he's got a bone bruise and a sprain in his wrist. So he'll be out of action probably until the end of June, maybe the early July. Hopefully he'll be back before the All-Star break for the Mets, who are fading. Marlo saying Hayes is hitting more than singles now. That's true. It's about time that he's suddenly seen some pop in his bat. He doubled twice yesterday. He's hit up to 266, 4 home runs, 28 RBIs. He's slugging 425. He's got 15 doubles, 5 triples, and 4 homers on the year. But, he's got 8 hits in his last 2 games, 13 in his last 5. So Hayes may be turning the corner after a sluggish start to the year, which would be a boost for a Pittsburgh team that's, for all their early season success, they've still had issues when it comes to consistent offensive production, and that's something they're going to need if they're going to stay in the playoff picture, even in the watered-down NL Central. We saw the Angels rally to beat the Mariners 5-4. They trailed 3-0, rallied or 2-0, took a 3-2 lead. Then Seattle tied it. Then they went ahead with 2 in the 6th. Luis Castillo took the loss. Another tough outing. Not so much a tough outing, but he didn't get a ton of support. 5 runs, 3 earned on 6 hits, a walk, and 10 strikeouts in 6 innings. A J.P. Crawford error proving critical in that game. Ohtani went 5 innings, 3 runs, 3 hits, 5 walks, 6 strikeouts through 97 pitches in that stretch. Jacob Webb gets the win in relief with 2 scoreless frames. Carlos Estevez, not Charlie Sheen, a different Carlos Estevez, gets the save despite giving up a run on a blast by Mike Ford in the 9th. Also gave up a walk, but managed to pick up his 17th save of the year. Marla says the Pirates still not a good team. You might not have to be a good team to win the Central this year, just looking at the way the standings have gone. You look in the Pirates 33-29, Milwaukee's 34-30. The Reds are 29-35. The Cubs are 27-36, and the Cardinals are 27-37. Because they beat Cincinnati yesterday. So you don't have to be good to come out of that division right now. It'll be interesting to see if any of the teams make any big deals ahead of the deadline to try and cement their position as the best team in that division. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, both the Central divisions are terrible. I mean, you look at the AL Central, the Twins are at 500 and still lead the division by a game and a half over Cleveland. The White Sox are 3.5 back. Just to give you an idea of how bad the AL Central is, the Tigers have lost 7 straight games and yet are only 4.5 games out of first. And Kansas City 13.5 back. They're the one team that has played themselves probably out of contention at this point. Nathan talking about the Mets team total under pitching matchup there today at PNC Park will be Kodai Senga going for the Mets against Johan Oviedo for the Pirates. Didn't like Oviedo when he was in St. Louis. He's okay. He's not great. But it'll be interesting to see how things go there. But before we move on to the fun part of the show, of course, let's talk about the general housekeeping stuff. Make sure that you like and subscribe and ring the bell so you know when we're here. Of course, that's 9 a.m. on Saturday mornings. Well, 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. Mountain, 6 a.m. Pacific. Don't ask me what time it is in Hawaii. I think the bars are probably still open. Of course, if you don't catch the show live, you can always catch the replay at your own convenience by going to the Winners and Winers YouTube channel and clicking under the live tab. For some reason, that's where all the shows go, even when it's not live anymore. That's where it is. Also, if you haven't gotten enough picks from the show and you want to get more picks, if you go to experts.winnersandwiners.com, you can go get premium plays from me or any of the other seemingly now 473 experts. If you use the promo code that's scrolling across the bottom of the screen, save 60% on those. Put some more money in your pocket ahead of Father's Day next week. Now, with that said, let's move on to what's going on today. And we'll start with 3 for the money. And we're going to start with Sam Bennett for the Panthers, over 3.5 shots. We had him in this spot last week. And you know what? It paid off. And I'm not adverse to looking for him to contribute again. Florida got back into the series with that win in Game 3. Bennett has gone over his shot total in 9 of his last 10 games. Going back to the second round series with the Maple Leafs, shots on goal 4-3-3, 4-6, 3-6, 3-4-4. You can probably get it over 2.5 at a juiced number, which is probably minus 160 or 170, depending. But I think he'll get at least 4 shots on goal tonight. Over 3.5 at plus money. We'll take it. The Guardians over the Astros. We saw Tristan McKenzie make his season debut last weekend against the Twins. Looked very good in the process. Fan 10 in 5 innings of work. Gave him 1 hit, no walk, no runs. He'll face off with J.P. France of the Astros. France is 1-1, a 344 earned run average, 9 walks, 29 strikeouts in 34 innings over 6 starts. Houston's dropped his last 3 starts. They come against the Brewers, the Twins, and the Angels. They scored 6 runs for him in those 3 starts. 5 of them came in the loss to Minnesota, where they fell in 10 innings, 7-5. Now, there's not a lot of familiarity, obviously, because France has only made 6 starts. He hasn't faced anybody in the Cleveland lineup. I give credit to Houston for rallying so many times yesterday, but Jordan Alvarez is missing. Current Astros have hit a combined 240 against McKenzie. Altuve has been the big man doing damage, 3 for 7, a double and 2 homers. Bregman 1 for 6. Abreu 5 for 15 with 4 walks. The rest of the guys, not so much. Pena 0 for 5. Tucker 1 for 5. McCormick 1 for 3. Mauricio Dubon 0 for 2. I think McKenzie can turn in another solid outing here. We saw in that crazy game last night that for all his issues, Logan Allen went 6 innings, gave 5 runs, 9 hits, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. McKenzie's a better pitcher than Logan Allen at this point. So look for him to turn another solid out and get Cleveland the win in that contest. The Angels, I mean, I went with them yesterday. They were my best play, my top play of the day. And like I said, they rallied to beat Castillo. Let's face it, Brian Wu, and no, I'm not quoting Ric Flair. That's his actual name. Brian Wu getting the start for Seattle. He was cuffed around in his debut last week by Texas. Gave up 6 runs, 7 hits, a walk, and 4 strikeouts in 2 innings. As the Mariners were destroyed 16-6. He'll go against Patrick Sandoval, 3-5, 4.14 earned run average, a 1.4 whip, 25 walks, 40 strikeouts. The one thing about Sandoval, he keeps the ball in the park. He's given up just 4 homers in 58 2/3 on the season. If he cuts down on the walks, he'll be a lot better off. But let's face it, this is a Seattle team that has struggled to score runs of late. They're 13-17 on the road. The Angels have suddenly won 5 straight games. They're within a game and a half of Houston for second in the AL West. But you look going back to, after that Pittsburgh series, it's been 9 games for the Mariners. They've scored a total of, 27 runs in that stretch. They had 3 times, 4 against the Yankees in a 10-4 loss, 4 last night, and 4 in a 4-1 win over San Diego. They had 6 in that game against the Rangers, but they gave up 16. They won a game 1-0. They were blanked 2-0. Texas then beat them up 12-3 in the finale of that set. They lost 10-3 on Wednesday to San Diego. There's just not a lot of guys in that Seattle lineup that really scare you. I mean, you got names, but Julio Rodriguez is hitting 243. He struck out 75 times in 247 at bats. Teoscar Hernandez has 10 homers. He's hitting 241. He struck out 83 times in 237 at bats. You got Eugenio Suarez, who loves to strike out. He's got 76 whiffs and 228 at bats. Kalenic has fanned 77 times and 215 at bats. Granted, he's hitting 270, but so what? Cal Raleigh's at 214. Crawford's at 235. Colton Wong's at $153. Pollock's at $160. I mean, these guys aren't moving the needle. And if you're not going to contribute, they're going to have trouble winning ball games. I think the Angels, like I said, they've got momentum. They've won 5 in a row. They swept the Cubs. They won last night. And I don't have faith in a guy named Wu who was lit up in his first start against Texas. And that'll take us to 4 for the show. Vegas and Florida over 5.5. You can get it at over 6, but I like having the little bit of cushion there where, if you can get this, if they get to 6, it's a winner for you as opposed to being a potential push. Game 3 was a lower scoring game and ended up 3-2 in overtime. But you look at the first 2 games in the series, 6-2, 7-2. I get that Florida played a more defensive-oriented game, but I don't think that's really their style. When they've had success, they've played more wide-open ice kind of games and dared opponents to try to play their style of play. And the problem for them is Vegas can actually play that style. We saw that in their series with Edmonton. Vegas has a roster that's built to play any kind of style. You want to play up-tempo, play open ice, play freewheel in hockey, Vegas can do that. You want to play defensive lockdown hockey like the Stars, Vegas can do that too. I just think it's going to be a higher scoring game than what we saw in Game 3. And it'll end up, I think it's going to be probably a 4-2, 5-3 type of game. Either way, going past the number. That shouldn't say the Dodgers. It's supposed to say the Red Sox. It didn't say, must be when I put it in last night. Boston won last night's game 3-2. Tonight, for the Yankees, going to send Domingo Germán against Tanner Houck. Houck on the season, 3-5, a 5.46 earned run average, a 132 whip, 21 walks, 56 strikeouts, and 57 2/3 and 11 starts. Germán 3-3, 369 earned run average, 0.95 whip, 19 walks, 59 punch outs, and 61 innings. You look in Boston hasn't had a ton of success against Germán with the current guys. Rafael Devers 3 for 22. Enrique Hernandez 0 for 9. Turner is 0 for 3 or 1 for 3. The biggest success story, Verdugo is 5 for 12, 3 doubles and a home run. Meanwhile, I know the Yankees are missing Aaron Judge, of course, which is a big blow to their lineup. Their offense is kind of sputtered without him. But Houck is not exactly setting the world on fire. He's pitched well against the Yankees. LeMahieu's 0 for 9. Torres is 1 for 11. Rizzo's 0 for 2. Donaldson 1 for 7. Giancarlo Stanton 2 for 8. But we know how bad Boston's bullpen has been, and that could be the deciding factor in this contest. AJ says just fade the Royals. You're right, Santa Boxing. I haven't paid a lot of attention to it. So I don't want to go ahead and throw out random opinions without having done the research. Because, there's so many belts and stuff in boxing now, it's hard to keep track of who does what and who's where. So I'm not going to just randomly throw something out and hope that it sticks. Just because it's simpler. Yeah, I know it's Crawford, but like I said, I don't watch enough boxing to give an actual read on it. And I'm not going to sit here and try to say that that there's a good answer to it. I know that Lopez has been inconsistent. He barely got by Sandor Martin in his last fight. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm the one to give a good answer. Reichel might know if you look at him on Twitter. I see that a lot of people are thinking that Taylor will actually get the decision in that fight against Lopez. But I'm not going to try and make it hazard a guess. March or so under 3.5 shots. You talk about a guy that's been on a roll in the playoffs. And March or so is clearly the answer. He's probably, if Vegas wins the Cup, he'll probably be the Conn Smythe winner. He's just been terrific in the playoffs. Scored again the other night. He scored 4 goals in the first 3 games of the Cup finals. He's got 11 goals in his last 10 playoff games. For some reason, they keep setting his goal prop at a ridiculous number. It's at plus 185 today. But, Marchessault, he scores without a lot of volume, and they've actually moved. The Lions actually moved a little bit on that, but Marchessault, he's only gone over his shot prop in 2 of his last 10 games, averaging 3.1 shots a game in that stretch. We'll take 3 shots and walk away happy with this. He doesn't need volume to score, and that's a big thing. And the Diamondbacks over the Tigers, that's the early game, 1:10 start. Ryan Nelson going against Matthew Boyd. We said the Tigers have lost 7 in a row. Nelson hasn't been great, 2-3, 540 earned run average, 149 whip, 22 walks, 37 strikeouts, and 61 2/3. Boyd 3-4, 557 earned run average, 135 whip, 22 walks, 53 strikeouts, and 53 1/3. He's been terrible at Comerica Park this year. 0-4, 834 earned run average, 15 walks, 17 strikeouts, over 22 2/3 in 5 home starts this season. Not the kind of numbers you want to have when you're pitching at home. So I'll go with the Diamondbacks in that contest. Yeah, AJ said T's are blocking a lot of shots. That's true, too. Yeah, there's big cash on boxing. I'm sure there is, but boxing is so fickle with it being one-on-one and with seeing how questionable some of the judges' scorecards come out in some of these fights. I've seen enough people complain about it in UFC as well that it's not something that I'm willing to chase down. Yeah, you can probably take Arizona on the run line, Corey. I mean, like we said, Detroit's been bad. Arizona won 11-6 last night. Don't have a ton of faith in the Tigers today either. There's big cash in everything. If you look into it enough, there's big cash in horse racing, but I don't chase that. I don't chase that either. I leave that to people that follow it. And, for me, boxing stopped being overly relevant once the days of Hagler and Hearns and Leonard and Duran and all those guys ended. I mean, sure, you had Tyson in the early 90s, and then when he came back. But you watch it now. Most of Mayweather's fights were slogs. You had the whole fight with Pacquiao where Pacquiao, probably shouldn't have been fighting. And in the heavyweight division, you had the Klitschko's for a long time. And other than that, there weren't a whole bunch of names. You could throw out Canelo Alvarez now, but there's no names that really move the needle in boxing. Nobody's like, oh, I got to get that pay-per-view. Yeah, UFC, there's always a lot of stuff in the Discord about that. Yeah, Crawford and Errol Spence is supposed to be in July. From what I was reading. So, I mean, that fight isn't even coming up for 6 weeks. Unless I misread where they were talking about it. Because before, I thought I saw that they were talking about that it was supposed to be on July 29th. But either way, like I said, there's a lot of sure, there may be boxing on all the time, but if they're not marquee names that people are familiar with, they're not necessarily gonna. It's not gonna move the needle. It's not gonna drive pay-per-view buys, and it's not gonna catch the interest of a ton of people at the books. I mean, show me a fight that's made big money for the books where they're taking in major handles. I don't think that there are very many because of the fact that most casual people that follow sports or that are doing sports betting are more familiar with actual franchises and things like that than they are with individual boxers because of the fact that none of these guys are big names. I mean, yeah, everybody wants to make money, but doesn't mean that everybody talks about boxing though. I mean, that's just the way it goes. Like I said, I know Reichel talks or does UFC stuff. I don't know if he does boxing. And like AJ said in the Discord, a lot of people talk about UFC, but I don't. AJ, do you know if anybody talks a lot about boxing in there? Because I haven't been in there lately because I've been busy with trying to do all the other stuff. But I mean, I hope that things go well for you with the boxing bets. But there's so many divisions. There's so many belts that it would be too complicated to try and track down all that stuff. And that takes us to the shot in the dark, of course, as Jim Williams used to say. You know, you can take 2, you can take 4, you can take 6, you can mix them with some of the other ones, you can mix them with some of your own plays, whatever works for you. Marlo said Don King is still around, all I need to know. That's true. Evander Holyfield hasn't fought in an eternity. So talking about him doesn't really that's not going to move the needle either because Holyfield's last fight was 2011. Like I said, for me, boxing, you know, boxing stopped, and Holyfield Jr., he's only fought 10 times. So, and he lost his last fight. For me, boxing's glory days were back when you had Hearns and Hagler and Duran and Leonard and those guys in the welterweight division. I remember watching Tyson beat Spinks, where I was at a football camp and I went to go get a soda from the soda machine and turned around and the fight was over. Yeah, that's great that their sons are boxing now, but they're still not if you put that against an NFL game or you put that against a playoff game in the NBA or the NHL, you can't tell me that the dollar numbers are the same. Oh, Tomb Dog does boxing. That's right. I forgot about that, AJ's. I hadn't seen. Tomb Dog was here last week or the week after. I know Holyfield has a son. I said he lost his last fight. He got knocked out. And he's only fought 10 times. If you tell me that a guy who's fought 10 times is going to rake in as much money at the gate as a guy, or as, say, game 5 of the finals, I'm going to tell you that you're hallucinating. But shot in the dark, I'm going to take Vegas to win tonight. They should have won game 3. They gave up the tying goal late in regulation. Lost in overtime. I think they'll bounce back tonight. I'm not sold on Florida at this point. Vegas seemed to figure them out in the first couple games, and I look for them to take care of business here. Chandler Stevenson over 1.5 shots. It's a low number, but you know what? we'll take it because you look at Stevenson, and he's put up some decent numbers. He's not lighting the lamp, but he's playing well for a bottom six type of guy. And so trying to find his. There we go. Had to pull up his page there. He's had 4 shots in each of the last 2 games. I'll take 2. I'm not greedy. He's had 16 shots overall in the last 10 games. He's had 9 shots in the 3 games in the finals. I look for him to be a factor here. That line with Colasar and Amadio and all those guys have been very effective in causing problems. Hey, there's Tomb Dog. Cinna, you can keep rattling off all the boxing names you want. It's not going to move the needle. You can't tell me that any of these guys are going to move the needle compared to a Tyson or a Hearns or a Hagler or a Leonard or a Duran or a Foreman or hell, even Buster Douglas. Yeah, it's a name. Tomb Dog's a name, but Tomb Dog's not going to move a bunch of money either. Like I said, boxing's your thing. That's great. It's not everybody's thing. And like I said, I can't chase down every title fight in every division and everything else. Yeah, there you go, Tyson Fury. That's a name. But I'm giving you suggestions as to what like I said, people talk about it in the Discord. Reichel might. I don't know how much boxing he does. I know that he likes UFC. I usually defer to him on UFC stuff because he follows it more than I do. Individual sports don't really move the needle as much for me because there's, like I said, there's too much room for corruption. We've seen it happen. So that's why I stick to team sports. It's a lot tougher to. Okay, Santa, you're just rattling off different names, and it's getting a little bit old. Is Z in the UFC now, AJ? Well, that's good. Like I said, I haven't been on the Discord the last couple of weeks because I've been busy. So, but Z gets pretty much in everything. I think he'd probably get into, croquet and backgammon at this point if they put it up. The Reds over the Cardinals. I can't trust the Cardinals. I know they've got Mikolas going today. Andrew Abbott pitched pretty well in his major league debut. Beat the Brewers. Yeah, no runs on 1 hit, 4 walks, 6 strikeouts in 6 innings. The Reds won 2-0. Look for him to pitch well against a St. Louis team that's not overly good. Mikolas lost his last start to Pittsburgh, gave up 2 runs, 10 hits, no walks, 2 strikeouts, and 5. Snap string of 5 straight wins in his starts. I just can't trust the Cardinals to be consistent enough. The Reds could win outright, but, if you're worried about that, take the extra runs. I can't tell you if it's a good fight, a good thing or not. I don't bet boxing. I think I made that pretty clear. So I can't tell you if that's going to pan out for you or not. Especially can't tell you if it's going to pan out for not, considering the second fight that you mentioned is 6 weeks from now. I mean, that's all I can tell you. The Rangers over the Rays. Good pitching matchup there. Eovaldi going for Texas taking on Bradley. Eovaldi has been on a roll for the Rangers. He had that one rough start against the Braves where you have 3 runs. Well, it was a bad start. 3 runs over 7 innings. It's the only time he's given up more than 1 run in his last 7 starts. He's got 5 shutout starts in that stretch. Threw a complete game shutout against the Yankees on April 29th. Gave up no runs in 8 innings against the Angels in his next start. Then no runs in 8 2/3 against the A's. Then he had that start against Atlanta. Last 3 starts. 1 run, 6 hits, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts in a complete game against the Pirates. No runs, 4 hits, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, and 5 innings against the Tigers. No runs, 1 hit, no walks, 7 strikeouts over 6 against the Mariners. Hard to argue with a guy who's 3-0 with an 0.45 earned run average in his last 3 starts. His ERA on the year is down to 2.24. Averaging almost a strikeout an inning, over 80 1/3. Just 14. He's going to have just 3 homers in 80 1/3 innings. We saw a low-scoring game between these teams last night. Bradley's been good. 4-2, 360 earned run average, 8 walks, 48 strikeouts, and 35 innings. He struggled a bit at home, though, 2-1 with a 643 earned run average at the Trop, compared to 2-1 with a 171 earned run average on the road. I'll take the shot with Texas in that one. You can say all the sports are corrupt, but it's a lot more difficult when you've got multiple guys on the floor than you do in a one-on-one matchup. And if you don't think tennis is rigged, I don't know what to tell you there, because we've seen plenty of players end up, getting suspended for tanking points in games and stuff like that. There's you saw matches in 20. There's Wimbledon was investigated a couple of years ago for match fixing. You saw a couple of players arrested at Roland Garros back in 2020. Kicker was banned from the sport back in 2018 for participating in fixed matches. So, yeah, tennis has been tennis is rigged. The Dodgers over the Phillies. Bobby Miller going against Aaron Nola. Normally you'd look at it and say, well, Nola's got the experience factor, and he does, but he's also been up and down all year long. Miller's 2-0 with a 1.06 ERA through 6 shutout innings against the Yankees in his last start. Nola, he comes off a win over Detroit. Before that, he lost to the Mets. They had a no decision against the Braves. They beat the Cubs, then he lost to the Rockies. So he hasn't won back-to-back starts all year. So it's hard to back Nola. I know the Phillies won yesterday 5-4. I'll take my chances with the Dodgers there. Astros and the Guardians under 8.5. Cleveland has been an under machine now. Last night, notwithstanding. Cleveland comes into the game. They've gone under 38 of their 63 games with 3 pushes. Even Houston still 32-31-1 to the under on the year. With McKenzie pitching, I think Francona might stretch him, try to let him go a little longer than he did in his first start, just because of the fact that both teams had to use their bullpen so much yesterday in that 14-inning affair. I'm going to look for that to stay under the total today. I think McKenzie gets the job done for the Guardians, and France keeps his team in it. The Marlins over the White Sox. hopefully Sandy Alcantara comes back to form. He had one bad inning against the A's in his last start. He had 5 runs in the third, but then blanked the A's the rest of the way. Ended up going 7 innings, 5 runs, 6 hits, no walks, 7 strikeouts. He hasn't been the same as he was a year ago. But the White Sox don't score a ton of runs either. You could probably lean towards the under in this game with Kopech going. Kopech coming off 7 innings, 2 runs, 3 hits, a walk, and 9 strikeouts against the Tigers. He's punched out 36 or 38 batters in his last 4 starts. Miami doesn't score a ton. The White Sox haven't scored a ton either. I'm going to just lean to Miami. I think Alcantara can bounce back a little bit here. But, look for a low-scoring game in that contest. I already did name names. I told you kicker was banned in 2018 for 3 years. It's not that hard. Just look up tennis rigged or tennis fixed matches. You can find all kinds of stuff. Kareem Hussom was banned for life in 2018. Tawil was suspended for 5 years in 2019. Diego Matos banned for life in 2019. Yusuf Hassan banned for life in 2020. Yana Sizakova was arrested at Roland Garros in 2021. There's plenty of guys that have been busted for that. Kohler was the first player to get banned back in 2011. You can sit there and say all sports are, but like I said, it's a lot tougher to have a sport be rigged when there's 9 or 11 or even 5 or 6 guys on the playing surface at one time as opposed to 1. A lot easier to bribe one person than it is to bribe a whole team. Marchessault to score, like I said, I had it at plus 180. It's plus 185 now. Hard to go against a guy that scored 4 times in 3 games. That would be one of those things you throw in there as a flyer. Brandon Montour to block over 1.5 shots. Montour's been a factor back there on the blue line. You could also throw, if you want to swap Montour out, you can swap out Braden McNabb at the Golden Knights. He had 7 blocks in Game 3. I think his number is 2.5 at minus 114 or something like that. But should be attainable, given like the way AJ said earlier. Both teams blocking a lot of shots in the postseason. And Mark Stone over 2.5 shots. It's not a high bar, but Stone is he's been a factor in the postseason after spending most of the year on long-term IR. He scored twice in the finals. He's gone over his shot prop in each of the last 6 games. 2, 3, 3, 7, 3, 3. 3 gets you there. We'll take it. Corey asking about top 4 run lines. That's kind of pushing it a little bit. I said Arizona for sure. AJ says fade the Royals, so I mean you could probably take Baltimore. Just looking here. There's not a lot of great run line games. Maybe the Angels. And if McKenzie pitches the way he did in his first start, Cleveland could win probably 3-1 or something like that. I would say Milwaukee, but I don't trust Julio Teheran to do anything. The fourth one, if you had to throw a dart, probably Coors Field. The Padres over the Rockies. But if you're just going straight up plays, I would probably still lean. I'd take Baltimore. I would take Arizona. I'd probably take Minnesota. They're throwing Joe Ryan. Toronto is throwing the ever popular TBD, which maybe this was Manoah's spot, but he got sent down. So I'll take Ryan over whoever Toronto's going to pitch because it's not Gaussman. He's going tomorrow. And let's say Arizona, Minnesota, the Angels, and Baltimore. Yeah. Arizona, Minnesota, Baltimore, and the Angels. Cleveland is close up there too, but those would be the four I would go with. But that will do it for today. Hopefully everybody has a good one, has a fun weekend planned. Hopefully the weather's good where you are. I hope everybody has a profitable night. Game 5 of the finals coming up in a couple days. We'll see if the Heat can do anything in Denver or if the Nuggets will win their first title. We'll talk about that next week. We'll talk about the way the Stanley Cup finals play out. We'll talk about week 2 of the CFL. We'll talk about Major League Baseball. We'll talk about everything else. But until then, for Just Parlays, Winners and Winners Network, I'm Chris King. So long, everybody. Enjoy your weekend.